Hi guys and welcome to Pheas Airsoft, where today I'm going to do a disassembly of this StG44 or AGM MP056B. So a quick note on safety: if I'm unboxing, shooting down range, doing disassemblies, I always make sure I'm nice and safe. So I've always got eye protection on just in case something happens. Make sure mags are out and empty, and obviously unless I'm doing the shooting. Obviously that's using chrono, and make sure that there's no ammunition left in anything as well. So make sure you're doing the same. Hi guys and welcome back. If you do enjoy this content today or find it useful, please do like or subscribe, and subscribe because it would be really helping me out. So hopefully you have seen the unboxing of this, and if not, I'll drop a link down below for you to go and check this out. So this is the AGM MP056B or StG44 from Taiwan gun, and we got it on our recent order. Now this thing's an absolute beast, really weighty and solid, and people are obviously interested in how to disassemble it. So we're going to get straight on with doing that. So first thing is obviously making sure that the mag is out. Then we're going to drop the back body pin out, and we're going to pull the stock off. It is quite stiff, especially because the paint's not scratched off yet, and this paint is the kind of paint that it is going to scratch off pretty damn easy. Now actually getting the body open is pretty simple. Just going to need a couple of little Allen keys to get going, and then we're sorted. So I'm going to use, I think it's a 3. So this is that. So 2.5 size Allen key or hex bolt. So taking that one out. We don't need to take this one out because this is actually a dummy one. I'm going to take this front one out, which needs a little bit bigger one. Again, apologies for the slightly different lighting and the slightly different layout, just because I'm not using my usual workspace. So this bolt was short and thick like that, and obviously had a bigger head in. What did we just use for that? I bet that's looks like a 3. I think it's a 3. And then so we've taken this one out, and we're taking this one out, and then we've got this body pin here, and at this point this plate lifts up. Now just be careful that you obviously don't knock things out. To be fair, it's screwed in solid anyway, so you could unscrew that if you wanted, and it's lifted up the pin from in there. So take that with us. My flash has just turned off on my camera, never mind. And we've then got a screw to undo here, and this plate comes off. So I'll just grab this one. I'm surprised actually at how simple this all is. So tiny little screw out the bottom there, and this side plate should lift off. So it turns out they've added a little tiny screw there, and I didn't realise, and that's keeping it on. So I'm just going to undo that tiny little screw. There it is. There it is. Lay that back down. And this side plate does just then lift off. So there's your selector, or the inside of your selector there. Just clicking about. Nice and simple. That's just all done with the one screw. And you can see there it is just a traditional style M4 gearbox. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to undo this screw here. What is that? Releasing that. This one retains the gearbox down against the shell. I'm just going to lift that up, and this lifts out and away. And then with this part now, I'm going to brace that forward, and you kind of have to, so you're going to have to compress the hop unit forward and basically just pop the gearbox out There we go. Out like that. So you're just going to make sure you keep the hop unit compressed forward, and you're just going to pull down on it, and eventually it will pop out. Now, initially looking at that, gearbox shell looks solid. They are bushings and not bearings. It does look very solidly made. It's not a quick change spring system, unfortunately. It's a shame, but never mind. The motor is fairly just standard generic, almost like a SEMA motor. And it's obviously in a specialist case. Now there is I was going to comment a few minutes ago saying it looked like there's a screw missing out of the selector itself, and there it is. So I'm just going to tighten that back in, just so we know that it's in there. Does make the selector a lot stiffer than it was, which is nice. Obviously you want a nice stiff selector, that's good. So let's have a look at getting the hop unit out. Guessing if I twist that, can't. Oh, there. Push up on it slightly and back. It is going to be a tight fit. There we go. And avoid the charging handle carrier, and then out the back as well. And it is going to be a massive barrel as well. Now I believe that's it. The rest of it is sort of like clamped together and not really movable or changeable. So what we'll just do is take a look at that. Now this has got the hop fully applied, and there is virtually none in there. So I dare say a change of hop rubber and or tensioner, and you will have yourself a decent hop running in there. It's definitely greasy in there, probably wants a good clean out, as well as you can probably see all the grease build up in there, so that probably wants a good clean. Might even find that you put a good little bit of range on the shooting from giving it all a good clean out and putting a better rubber and nub in there. So measuring that barrel, you're looking at approximately sort of 44.5 centimeters, about 17.5 inch barrel. That's quite a lengthy barrel you've got there. Get the body out of the way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lower down the camera, and we'll have a look at disassembling this setup and have a look at inside. So here we are with the gearbox then, and first thing it looks like we need to do is I'm just going to drop the wires off left and right. Is that the adjustment there? Looks like there's 2 screws on the bottom there for adjustment, and to get this base part off I'm going to have to undo, guessing the top screws. That's 1. 2. Apologies if my flash keeps going off. Using it for a little bit extra bright light. Where did that just go? There. So that now does release that. There's the extra screw magnetised to that. So that's just a little cage, and that motor does just slide out of there now. Those little grub screws on the bottom, they are the adjusters. Nice and easy system, I suppose, isn't it, really? Get that out of the way. Now, the spring's in there. Next thing I can do is remove these 2 screws out the bottom. Obviously, as I always say, make sure that you've got you remember where these screws go, just so that they're not going disappearing. My phone keeps telling me that it's overheating from running the flash, which is why it keeps turning on and off. So put that in there, that back through there. That's that done, and then it's just a traditional M4 gearbox. So undo the screws. Shameless plug, if you haven't joined my Discord, go and check out the community page on the channel and or check out my socials for the link to my Discord group. Come and have a sort of chat and a conversation with us. There's some absolutely lovely people on there, and to chat general airsoft or pretty much anything that you want to chat about. People are in there having a good chat, and I'm regularly on there, probably at least a couple of times a day where possible. Sometimes not always able to. Just to make a note, the screw from the front and the screw here are the same kind. These two are different screws. These are like sort of flat-headed screws. Not flathead, not Phillips head. Just to show you, those are the two different types of screws. So the shaped one went from the front, the other one went from the part way back. Is it round head? Those, just so I don't lose them. There's quite a layer of grease on the outside of this gearbox. Probably wants a bit of a clean off. Right, so that's all the screws out. Let's have a look at this bad boy now. So we're going to do the usual trick. Just going to jam a screwdriver in the back, and we're going to aim that down. Well, I pull the upper shell off. There it is. Wow. So that's still a fairly strong spring, so maybe not sure that there's such a good compression in the cylinder, but we'll have a look now. Lift that up. That's got a strong spring on it. Take the tappet plate off. Now they are the what I'd call like older style Chinese plastic tappet and air nozzle. So let's have a look. Air compression. Oh no! Wow, that's amazing air compression. Wow, that's really, really good. Let's see with the nozzle on. So just put it part way. There is some air compression there. I will hand it to the AGM. There is some decent air compression in there. I am pleasantly surprised at that. The gear set then, fairly normal looking gear set. The bushings are quite nice and solid. Now, I don't know if you can notice, but there is signs of wear around this outside. I possibly suspect that's where the sort of scratchy noise is coming from. So maybe a little bit of a reshim might be useful in this situation. Let's turn those gears round, because we need that to be around there. So all in all, gearbox is nice and solid. Probably needs a little bit of a reshim. A little bit better motor would give you a significantly better rate of fire, but that's looking pretty good really. I'm pleasantly surprised at how solid that gearbox actually is, especially considering that it was it a custom design, I believe, you know, made from their own sort of mindset and everything. So I'm pretty impressed with that. So here we go then for the reassembly. So we'll start. The gears are obviously in. I've got the anti-reversal latch in. Now that's the bit that usually pops out and will be a pain, and probably will be a pain before we've got this back together. So I'm just going to drop the cylinder assembly back in place. And that is in. Making sure that the spring goes all the way down its little rod there. And that keeps the tappet plate as far down as possible. I've made sure that the piston is in its sliders. I can confirm there is a bearing base system down in the end of the cylinder head. It's not a bearing on the spring guide, but it's a nice thick chunky metal one, which is good. And there is a O-ring on there, a washer on there, so they can allow some movement. Not quite as good as a bearing based one, but you know, it is Chinese. We can't always compare everybody else to SEMA and what they're doing with their stuff. So I'm going to chuck that in there, and we're going to brace this back in, and hopefully the parts don't go pinging all over, and we can keep them in just long enough to get the top cover back on. So I'm going to keep that brace down. I'm going to bring this in nice and gentle. I'm then going to use this. Let's drop that in. And to reversal that next. There we go. And that gear. There we go. Boom. Perfect. So all I did was just used screwdriver to position things. I'm just going to make sure that there's nothing in the way of the motor going in there. And it's all gone back nice and solid. Brilliant. So next job is to put the screws back in place. Make sure you don't confuse the gearbox screws with the screws from the motor cage. So the little short stubby ones are the motor cage ones, the slightly longer ones are the gearbox ones for across the top there. Now that part's together, we're going to put the first part of the motor cage on. So just like you would with an M4 pistol grip, you're going to feed the wires through. And drop it into place like that. And then we're going to put the 2 screws in. There we go. I'm going to tighten those all the way down. Nice and solid, good. Next thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to bring the motor in and its spring. That needs to go that way, that needs to go that way. So we've got the red at the front, got the black at the back. Just lining up these plates. That's one. There we go. Now obviously they're under quite a bit of tension, so I'm just going to hold one in once I get the first screw or 2 in. And the magnet is so strong, it is not easy. There we go. That's the first one in. Do one on this side as well. That's another one in. There goes the flash again. Third one in. So just going to connect those motor wires back up. 1 and 2, and we are ready with those connected up to get this back into the body. So I'm going to bring in the body. In goes our barrel assembly, so I'm just going to insert that from the back there, chuck that in, just going to work it all the way in. Now it is going to have to lift up slightly and over there. I'm not sure if a metal one would go over that. Maybe you want to just file it a touch, and we're good to go. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the gearbox in, so I'm going to put the hop unit under compression at the front there, whilst I'll tell you what, I'm going to put the wiring in first, and then come back like that. Now this bit, I can imagine, is not very pleasant. This is going to be the real trick to it, isn't it? There we go. And up, there we go. I'm just going to pull that forward while filling the wiring back through again. So it needed to get the air nozzle in and then push it up, and it just snaps into place there, like that. So, is that looking good so far? Yes, I think it is. So we can drop this plate in place, which goes under like that. So that's gone under there like that and in. Obviously it's going to be forward in a second, so we're going to put this screw back in here just to hold these two parts together. Nearly. There we go. So that's in there, nice and secure, and that's obviously going to go forward like that. Next thing we need to do is we're going to bring in this side panel. So that just literally drops on there. Let's just check that that's around. Just going to get the selector into the safe position, because I think that's roughly where it's set at. Is it not safe, the semi position? And then I'm going to put these screws in. That's the underside one. There's the top side one. So I'm just going to screw that back in there. That's at the end of the pistol grip that we took out earlier. That's one. There we go. Now it's definitely in position. So all I did there is put my finger down on it and move the selector until it suddenly clicked into the selector, and when it's in safe, I can feel that that's in safe. I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to drop that screw in this side and tighten that back down. There we go, that's tightened back down. Flip that back over. There we go. So the next bit is to bring this back in, which is going to sit on there. Now I'm keeping this down just to keep the selector in place. There is a lip here. that it's just going to click under this lip here, and it's clicked into place, and then that should now help me with that immensely. So the bigger one went at the front. No, it didn't. So like the shorter, fatter one went at the front, the other one went at the back. So let's get this screwed in first. Tightened up. Switch bits out. That's that tightened up. Next I'm going to drop the brass pin back in there. It might need a bit of wiggling about and maybe a little bit of tapping just to get it in the right place. Just going inside, there we go, look. There's the issue, look. There we go. Close the hatch back up. And we've got that body pin there that still needs the O-ring on it, and that can go in there. That's in. And then last thing to do is make sure that it's still firing, so it's unsafe. Chuck a battery on it. Safe. All the way to auto. And full auto, and the job's a good one. Take the battery off, put the brass back in, there we go, and then we can put the stock in. And the last remaining pin in. And there you go, there you have it. You have successfully disassembled, internally reviewed and reassembled your AGM MP056B or StG44. So I hope that's been useful to you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do remember to like, comment and subscribe because it will be really helping me out. And I will see you next time. Bye.